Hey everyone! If you're into anime games, chances are you've already heard of Honkai Star Rail. And if you haven't tried it yet, let me tell you, one of the biggest reasons to start playing is the insane variety of characters. Seriously, Hoyoverse doesn't mess around when it comes to character design. They've got some of the most stylish, jaw-dropping heroes out there. And the cool part? Some of these characters actually come straight from Honkai Impact 3rd, so if you're a fan of that universe, you're in for a treat. Now in Honkai Star Rail, characters are split into 4-star and 5-star rarities, and today we're diving into the 5-star crew. These are the big names, the flashy, powerful units that can carry your team to victory if used right. Each character follows a specific path and combat type, which basically means they have a role to play, like dealing massive damage, shielding allies, or supporting the team. But even with all that in mind, let's be honest, some 5-stars are just better than others. So in this video, we're going to take a closer look and see which 5-star characters really stand out from the rest. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking 5-star characters in Honkai Star Rail. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The 5-star characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Himeko. Hold on to your light cones because we're diving into the saddest part of the tier list. Yes, the infamous B tier. And believe it or not, it only has one resident, our beloved coffee-loving space mom, Himeko. Now, before the pitchforks come out, let's be clear. Himeko is not bad, she's just, let's say, a little outpaced. Her animations? Absolutely stunning. That ultimate? Chef's kiss. But when it comes to raw power and utility, other 5-star characters just leave her in the cosmic dust. Himeko deals area of effect damage with both her skill and her ultimate, which sounds amazing on paper. The problem is, it often just does not hit hard enough to make a serious impact, especially when you compare her to other damage dealers. And to make matters worse, the game gives you Asta for free. Asta is another fire-type character who can buff your whole team and apply burn effects with ease. So if you are looking at your limited resources and wondering whether to build Himeko or not, well, let's just say it is a tough sell. Still, if you really love her vibe, and let's be honest, who does not? She can absolutely carry you through the game, with style, even if not with sheer power.
The 5-star characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Aglaya, Jiaokyu, Boothill, Argenti, Topaz and Numbi, Sealy, Bailu, Physical, Destruction Trailblazer, Yanking, Welt, Clara, and Jing Yuan. Alright, let's get real for a second. Sometimes you just want that character who's almost perfect, but not quite S tier. You know, the one who's a bit like your friend who promises to show up on time, but somehow always ends up fashionably late. That's exactly what the A tier 5-star characters in Honkai Star Rail are like. They're strong, reliable, but just a step away from stealing the spotlight entirely. Take Aglaya, for example. She was the very first limited remembrance character, which sounds fancy until you realize she needs a very specific team to really shine. Sunday, Huohuo, and Ice Trailblazer. Replace any one of those, and suddenly Aglaya's damage fizzles out faster than your phone battery on a long day. So yeah, she's powerful, but only if you assemble the perfect squad like a mad scientist in the lab. Then we have Jiaokyu. This guy was a total beast during the Shanzhou continuance quests, kind of like that one player who's unbeatable in a specific map, but struggles elsewhere. Now here's the kicker. If you pair him with Acheron, Jiaokyu instantly levels up to S+ tier. But without that combo, his damage boost is a bit underwhelming, especially compared to support stars like Sparkle, Robin, Ruin Mei, or Ting Yun. It's like he's got the potential to be a rock star, but forgot his guitar at home. Speaking of high damage, Boothill can throw out some seriously crazy numbers. But, and this is a big but, you'll need Harmony Trailblazer in your team, and some characters who can exploit physical weakness on enemies. If the bad guys hide their weakness, like Stellaron Hunter Sam or Bronya, Boothill suddenly becomes about as useful as a chocolate teapot. High risk, high reward, my friends. Argenti is another interesting one. The erudition path hasn't been the strongest lately, but Argenti kind of salvages it by dealing big damage. If you can land his second ultimate, that means you're pretty much stuck using Tingyun and Huohuo alongside him, plus Sunday. Without them, Argenti's usefulness drops faster than a bad Wi-Fi connection. So yeah, he's powerful, but you'll need the dream team to back him up. Topaz and Numbi, the dynamic duo, were the first hunt characters mainly supporting follow-up attacks. The problem? Follow-up units aren't super reliable right now, so they don't get the spotlight much. But if Hoyoverse ever decides to boost follow-up attacks indirectly, these two could become the ultimate hype squad. For now, they're kind of like that talented sidekick waiting for their moment. Seely was great early on, especially when mobs were squishy and you could milk her talent easily. But as enemies bulked up with health, she's had a tougher time keeping up. It's like she's still invited to the party, but the cool kids have taken over the dance floor. There are just better options these days if you want consistent performance. Bailu was one of the original 2 healers, and while healing is super important in mid to late game, you also get Natasha for free during the story who heals with her skill and ultimate. Bailu's edge? She can prevent a character from being knocked down once per battle, which is neat but not a game changer. Basically, she's nice to have, but not exactly the MVP. Now, let's talk about the Trailblazer, the free character everyone gets. They belong to the destruction path, meaning they can hold their own without much help. Their damage output is solid from the start, and they can hit both single and multiple enemies. Plus, when you unlock Perseverance, their defense gets a boost, making them a great all-around pick if you don't have Clara or Su Shang. Not too shabby for a freebie. Yan King is one of those characters who just missed the S tier cut by a hair. What makes him stand out is how self-sufficient he is. He can boost his own critical rate, critical damage, and overall damage with his abilities. That means your relic stats matter less, which is a blessing because farming relics is, well, let's just say it's a grind. Yan King's basically your go-to guy for consistent late-game damage. And finally, there's Welt, a starter and standard banner character who was the only imaginary character at launch. His imprisonment effect delays enemy turns and slows them down, which can be a lifesaver in tough fights. When enemies speed up at higher levels, Welt helps you keep pace and avoid getting wrecked. Not flashy, but solid and dependable. So, there you have it, your A-tier 5-star cast. They're like the trusty sidekicks in the story of Honkai Star Rail. Not always stealing the show, but absolutely essential to your success. And hey, sometimes being reliable beats being flashy. The 5-star characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Hyacine, Anaxa, Maide, Rappa, Fei Xiao, Yunli, Jade, Dr. Ratio, Sparkle, Firefly, Fire, Preservation Trailblazer, Silver Wolf, Luocha, Blade, Jeepard, and Branya. Alright, buckle up because we're diving headfirst into the wild world of Honkai Star Rail's 5-star characters. And trust me, these are the folks you want chilling in your roster. Think of them as the VIPs of your interstellar crew, each with their own flair, quirks, and some serious firepower or utility that can turn the tide of battle faster than you can say, critical hit. So, let's jump right in and see who's packing the biggest punch or dropping the best buffs in this cosmic lineup. First up, let's talk about Hyacine. Now, you might have seen her adorable Memo Sprite blasting away enemies with style, but she's not just a cute face. She's more of a sustain queen. While she might not dazzle with raw damage numbers like some others, she's a game changer if you're rocking HP-based damage dealers. Basically, she pumps up their health and survivability so well that you'll feel like you have a secret tank keeping your DPS safe and sound. Moving on to Anaxa, the versatile legend. This guy can swing both ways, main damage dealer or sub-DPS, which means he's flexible like your favorite Swiss Army knife. He has a passive ability that either cranks up his critical damage or boosts another Erudition Path unit's damage by a whopping 50%. That's right, 50% bonus damage just for having him around. If you're a fan of Erudition characters, Anaxa is like the peanut butter to your jelly, makes everything better. Now, Maide is another fascinating one. You might know him for being an absolute beast when fully loaded in a hypercarry team, but here's the kicker. Even as a sub-DPS, he holds his ground strong. Pair him with characters like Castorise and watch him dish out solid damage without stealing the spotlight. It's like having a reliable sidekick who quietly gets the job done. Oh, and then there's Rappa. If you haven't seen her flashy character trailer, you're missing out on some next-level marketing magic. But beyond the hype, she's a powerhouse who can shatter enemy weaknesses with ease. No need to wait for imaginary weakness debuffs. This makes her a fantastic pick for those pesky endgame fights where breaking down multiple enemies quickly is the name of the game. Fei Xiao's got a unique playstyle too. She's the kind of character who doesn't mess around with energy bars. Instead, her ultimate recharges every time her teammates attack, and she can stack this ultimate twice for some serious single-target damage. Perfect for those boss fights where you want to melt one enemy down fast. The only downside? Honkai doesn't have tons of single-target battles, so she doesn't always get the spotlight she deserves. Yunli is a bit of an oddball in this group. As a 5-star limited destruction path character, she's usually expected to dominate, but her damage depends on enemies attacking her first, which isn't always guaranteed. If you can time her ultimate right or get lucky, she unleashes massive damage, especially against enemies who love splash damage themselves. Definitely a high-risk, high-reward type. Then we have Jade, who's a bit of a dark horse. She's not about blasting enemies to bits with insane damage. Instead, she's all about utility. Jade applies effects to allies that stack up based on how many enemies those allies hit. This means she gels perfectly with erudition characters, boosting their secondary damage and making her an increasingly valuable asset as your team evolves. She's like the quiet genius in the backline, making sure everyone shines. Dr. Ratio brings something different to the table. He's all about debuffs. Unlike your typical damage dealer who just smacks enemies until they fall, Dr. Radio's damage scales with how many debuffs you pile on opponents. When played right, he can slap down some eye-popping numbers. The catch? The game currently favors area of effect damage units, so Dr. Ratio sometimes feels like the kid in class who's brilliant, but just a bit overshadowed. Lastly, Sparkle is the fairy godmother of the team. If you're lucky enough to summon her, congratulations! You're basically set for any tough content. Her skill advances an ally's turn by 50% and slaps a huge critical damage bonus on them. Add her talent and ultimate that buff your whole team's damage, and you've got a character who fits perfectly in double DPS setups. The only reason she's not in the absolute top tier is because another character, Sunday, edges her out slightly in raw power. Firefly. This gal isn't your usual straightforward damage dealer. Nah, she's all about breaking enemy toughness first. Imagine you're trying to crack open a nut. Firefly's the sledgehammer that smashes that tough shell before you get to the good stuff inside. Once that toughness is gone, her attacks just start raining down with over 100,000 damage per hit. That's right, she's basically saying, I'm not just here to chip away, I'm here to obliterate. Then we have the Fire Preservation Trailblazer. Yes, the main character you might have underestimated. The Preservation Path Fire Trailblazer is a tanky hero who's all about protecting your squad. He can literally taunt enemies and say, hey, come hit me instead, giving your fragile DPS a chance to wreck shop without worrying about getting one shot. This kind of protection is clutch for those intense endgame modes like the Forgotten Hall, where every hit counts. Let's talk about Silver Wolf next. If you love slicing through defenses like a hot knife through butter, this Nihility Path character is your dream come true. Silver Wolf drops enemy defense with her ultimate and plants fresh weaknesses with her skills, which can stack up to make your team's damage explode. The catch? Her debuffs have a chance to miss, so you'll want to boost her effect hit rate to make sure she's always landing those painful hits. Healing duties fall on Luocha, who's basically the team medic you didn't know you desperately needed. He's got automatic healing built right into his talents, which means your team stays in fighting shape without you having to micromanage every heal. Plus, he's great for skill point economy since you can spam basic attacks and let his healing and talents do the heavy lifting. Just don't expect him to be a shield against one-shot kills. He's there to keep the team steady, not invincible. Then there's Blade, the chameleon of the bunch. This guy fits into almost any playstyle you throw at him. He deals massive area of effect damage with his enhanced basic attacks and ultimate while juggling skill points like a pro, using only one skill point every 3 turns. Put him with a healer or a shield buddy, and he'll dance through battles like it's a stroll in the park. Shieldmaster Gaypard is next. He's all about defense, bringing big shields to protect your team while being annoyingly hard to knock down thanks to his talent. If you pile on enough defense stats, his shields become practically impenetrable. Plus, with some effect hit rate, he can freeze enemies, which is a neat little crowd control trick that can turn battles in your favor. Finally, let's not forget Bronya, the buff queen you get from the beginner and standard banners. Her entire kit is designed to make your other characters shine brighter. She buffs damage, removes debuffs, and even gives the character an instant extra turn. And her ultimate? Oh, that just piles on even more buffs for the whole squad. Basically, if you want your team to feel like a well-oiled damage machine, Bronya's your go-to. So yeah, these 5-star stars aren't just shiny collectibles. They bring real strategic firepower, utility, and sometimes a sprinkle of madness to your squad. Whether you want to tank hits, shred enemies, or boost your whole team's damage, Honkai Star Rail's got you covered with some seriously cool characters. What do you think? Any favorites on your roster already? The 5-star characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Castarish, Triby, the Herta, Remembrance Trailblazer, Sunday, Fugue, Lingsha, Imaginary, Harmony Trailblazer, Robin, Aventurine, Acheron, Black Swan, Ruin Mei, Huohuo, Jingliu, Danheng Imbibitor Lunai, Fushuan, and Kafka. Alright, buckle up because we're diving deep into the cream of the crop, the absolute legends of Honkai Star Rail's 5-star lineup. You know those characters who don't just show up and flex but literally carry your whole team through the toughest endgame content like Memory of Chaos or Swarm Disaster? Yeah, those are the ones in this S+ tier. And trust me, this tier isn't just crowded because of hype. Every single one of these heroes shines bright when the stars align just right. First up, Castarish. She's basically the second limited remembrance DPS to drop after Aglaia, and man does she shred. Her dragon isn't just for show. It burns through enemy health bars like butter on a hot skillet. The best part? Her top tier support is Ice Trailblazer, who you can get totally free. So you don't have to break the bank to make her a monster. Then there's Triby. This one immediately snatched Ruin Mei's spot in most teams, especially when you're running a double DPS setup. Triby's buffs are like the secret sauce that makes your damage numbers go from meh to OMG. Seriously, the extra damage she pumps out is just too good to ignore. Now, the Herta made a grand entrance in version 3.0 and totally flipped the meta on its head. This Erudition Path Queen is a DPS machine. I mean, even with a free-to-play build, she consistently dishes out over 1 million damage. Sounds busted? That's because she kind of is. Let's not forget the Remembrance Trailblazer. Honkai Star Rail really loves making Trailblazers strong. Remember Harmony Trailblazer? This guy's no joke either, giving you up to 48% of a unit's damage as true damage. Picture Argenti, who already deals around 700,000 damage with his ultimate, slap on the Remembrance Trailblazer, and boom, over 1 million damage hits the enemy. Insane, right? Sunday's comeback story is pretty epic too. Jing Yuan was kinda stuck in the not-so-great zone for a while, but Sunday flipped the script. He's basically the ultimate turn giver, instantly handing turns to allies and their summons. Perfect for those Remembrance Path characters who thrive on extra actions. Plus, that massive critical damage boost? Yes, please. Fugue is the limited edition version of Harmony Trailblazer, and she's a game changer for break teams. Just by existing, she lets your squad deal extra super break damage. On top of that, she gives enemies an extra toughness bar to break through. Sounds bad for them, but great for your team's damage output. If you're running break-based teams with Firefly and Boot Hill, Lingsha is your best friend. She consistently chips away at enemy toughness and doubles as a healer. Her follow-up attacks trigger automatically when your teammates get low, which makes her a solid sustainer even outside of those break-focused squads. Speaking of sustainers, Aventurine is basically the king here. He stacks shields like it's nobody's business, boosts effect resistance, and adds extra damage through follow-ups. If the enemy can't punch through his shields, he's almost impossible to take down. A must-have for late-game grind. And how could I forget Acheron? Popular across multiple Hoyoverse titles, she brings a unique ultimate mechanic that's just plain fun to use. You'll want specific characters and light cones to maximize her potential, but once you do, she shines bright like a diamond. Finally, Black Swan. She gave Nihility the juice it needed to compete with Destruction Path teams. She punishes enemies for taking their turns using Arcana stacks and can deal over 100,000 damage on a single hit. Best part? She's easy to build without worrying about critical stats, so you can jump right into the action. Alright, that was a lot of firepower, but these are just some of the shining stars in the S+ tier of Honkai Star Rail. Whether you're looking for raw damage, insane utility, or solid support, this list has you covered. So go ahead, pick your favorites, and start smashing those bosses. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.